Reform UK leader promising to deport more than 500,000 migrants.
If you come to the UK illegally, you will be detained and deported and never, ever allowed to stay. Period.
This would be the largest deportation operation in British history. More than 600,000 illegal migrants would be explicitly targeted. 5 military deports launching every single day. The mobilization of 6,000 specialized enforcement officers modeled directly on American ICE units. Farage is not just proposing policy, he is replicating the harsh enforcement strategy of Donald Trump. Even the US president has hinted his backing of mass deportations in the UK. The message is clear. We will return illegal arrivals back to Africa and Sharia-governed nations. And the public response has been massive. Hundreds of thousands have already thrown their support behind Nigel Farage's initiative. Petitions are ready. Analysts project violent crime could drop by 42%. Machete attacks could plummet 7-fold. Grooming gangs would lose over 2,400 active network operatives instantly. The plan deploys the Royal Navy across the English Channel. 24/7 patrols have the resources to cut illegal arrivals to 20 a day instead of 1,000. Crowds outside Parliament have demonstrated their determination. All that remains is government consent. Suddenly, Starmer responded. This is a racist, intolerant, and unworkable plan. The state rejects it completely. That marked the beginning of the end. At 7 p.m., the crowd officially branded Starmer Britain's #1 traitor. Demands to dissolve Parliament rang out. Inside the White House, whispers circulated about a policy of self-destruction under Starmer's command. 5 hotels were surrounded. At 7:15 p.m., the first bottles were thrown at officers. The order came down: suppress the far-right radicals, deploy the shield wall. But what followed was impossible to contain. 16 volleys of fireworks were fired directly into a police platoon. Officers were surrounded on 3 sides. The final command came: retreat to avoid casualties. Starmer then issued a statement. I condemn all hatred. No person can be deported on the basis of religion or nationality. In Parliament Square, crowds held up placards. We are not racists. We only want safety for our children. Then a report broke from South London. 2 women had been attacked with a machete. This only fueled the mobs. At 7:40 p.m. sharp, 4 vans were surrounded, with officers trapped inside. Crowds screaming accusations of 2-tier policing. Farage stated over 12,000 arrests for radical Facebook posts, then added, while a woman is attacked with a machete, an entire platoon is deployed to arrest a 74-year-old grandmother? Starmer called this a baseless conspiracy, then added, the crime crisis is linked to the legacy of the previous government. We are merely cleaning up the consequences. The root causes remain untouched. A TikTok video hit 8.2 million views in just 6 hours. 280 illegals filmed storming the beaches. Comments were disabled. Suddenly, Starmer's demographic plan leaked online. Analysts proposed a theory explaining exactly how he intends to win again. The math is simple. Starmer stated he needs 2 terms to fulfill his goals. £6 million are spent on migrants every day. They receive passports in 5 years. Starmer gains an electoral base of hundreds of thousands tethered by social benefits. The government denied the theory, calling it nonsense. Farage paints a picture of a Britain transformed overnight. He argues that the current crime wave is not an inevitable fact of life. It is a direct result of weak borders. If Operation Restoring Justice goes live, the streets change instantly. The data suggests a radical shift in public safety. Take knife crime, specifically the machete epidemic terrorizing London. Farage predicts a 35% drop in serious blade offenses within 6 months. Why? Because the gangs driving this violence, he argues, are largely foreign national networks. Remove the foot soldiers and the war ends. No more postcode wars fought with zombie knives. No more imported tribal conflicts playing out on British streets. No more emergency rooms filled with victims bleeding out. The logic is brutal, but, he claims, effective. And then there's what he calls the darkest stain on Britain's conscience: grooming gangs. Farage promises the immediate dismantling of these networks. He projects that over 2,400 active predators would be removed in the first wave. These are men who have operated with impunity for decades. Under his plan, their citizenship protections vanish. The fear shifts from the victims to the perpetrators. Analytics say that sexual exploitation cases in northern towns could fall by 60%. A generation of girls finally safe from the threat of abduction. Some call Farage's plan insane and costly. Others say it's better to take action than to watch the country self-destruct at the expense of its own taxes. Then look at street robbery. Phone snatching has become an epidemic in London. A phone is stolen every 3 minutes under Starmer. Farage links this directly to the undocumented population. Without legal work, crime becomes the only income. Deport 600,000 illegals and the theft economy collapses. Estimates show phone snatches dropping by 120,000 incidents a year. Home burglaries would follow the same trajectory. Neighborhoods that currently sleep with one eye open could finally relax. It's about breaking the cycle. Right now, a foreign criminal knows the British justice system is soft. They know deportation can take 10 years of appeals. Farage's plan removes that safety net. You commit a crime at 10 a.m., you're on a plane by midnight. That level of consequence changes behavior fast. The broken windows of Britain get fixed. Insurance premiums for small businesses fall. Security budgets for local councils are freed up. Starmer calls this fantasy. Farage calls it necessary sanitation. Police stop acting like social workers and return to fighting crime. Prisons empty of foreign nationals, saving billions. The streets belong to the law-abiding majority again. This is the statistical reality of a secure border. It's not just about immigration numbers. It's about the right to walk home without looking over your shoulder. Starmer and his supporters label Farage's plan far-right and warn it would destroy the national budget. They respond by claiming that only $2.1 billion was spent on migrants in a single year. At the same time, they link recent arrivals to rising crime, contradicting their own argument. Starmer insisted that a person's cultural background has no impact on crime. And here is the plot. Farage calls them the forgotten army of British politics. They are the millions who watched the riots and stayed home. They are the voters who opposed mass migration but refused to sign public petitions. Under Keir Starmer, this majority has not gone silent out of apathy, they have gone silent out of pure, calculated fear. Farage argues that Britain has entered a new era of state-sponsored intimidation. The Prime Minister is no longer acting as a guardian of liberty. He is acting as chief prosecutor against dissent. A retweet can result in a knock on the door at 7 a.m. A single Facebook comment now carries the weight of a criminal sentence. Ordinary citizens see the headlines: 20-month prison terms for social media posts, people losing jobs simply for questioning border policy, and they make a rational choice: survival. This, Farage warns, is the Orwellian shift. Analytics suggest the mechanisms of the state are now weaponized against the working class. HR departments have become enforcement arms of the government. Police monitor Twitter with the same intensity as actual crimes. The silent majority sees a stark two-tier reality. If you scream anti-British slogans at a London march, you are exercising a right. If you quietly complain about a migrant hotel in a pub, you are accused of inciting hatred. Starmer has drawn a line where patriotism meets persecution. This has created a culture of whispers. Fathers are afraid to speak freely in front of their children's teachers. Employees are terrified to discuss news in the canteen. The public square has been shut down by the threat of the law. But Farage insists this silence is deceptive. It is not the silence of agreement. It is the silence of a pressure cooker. Millions of people are biting their tongues while their anger grows. They pay the taxes that fund the system they are forbidden to criticize. They watch their towns change and are told that noticing it is a crime. The opposition claims that Starmer believes he has crushed his critics by jailing the loudest voices. He is wrong. He has not eliminated the opposition. He has only driven it underground. The silent majority has not disappeared. They are hiding in plain sight. They are waiting for the moment when the ballot box offers anonymity. The rejection of Operation Restoring Justice has triggered a collapse in public safety that is no longer theoretical but visible on every high street. Critics argue that by formally abandoning the plan to deport 600,000 illegal entrants, the government government has sent a green light to criminal networks. Britain's border is open for business. Farage's proposal was built on absolute deterrence, using military-grade logistics to shatter the gang's business model. Starmer's refusal to implement these measures has, according to critics, effectively surrendered control of the streets to those who wish to do harm. The immediate result, they argue, is a two-tier justice system, where the native population is policed with an iron hand, while foreign national offenders operate with tactical impunity. We are seeing a frightening rise in machete attacks because perpetrators believe there is no threat of swift removal. Under the Farage doctrine, a convicted gang member would be on a one-way flight within 24 hours. Instead, critics say, a permissive environment has been created in which grooming gangs can rebuild their networks in northern towns. These predators, whom Farage vowed to strip of citizenship and deport en masse, are now shielded by a system that prioritizes human rights law over public safety. Police, paralyzed by the fear of being labeled racist by the Prime Minister, have retreated from proactive enforcement in volatile communities. Instead, the full force of the state is directed at managing the anger of the law-abiding majority. The result, critics warn, is a dystopian inversion of priorities. Counter-terror resources used to arrest people over social media posts, while rioters burning buses in Leeds are met with de-escalation. This is, critics say, a deliberate inversion of morality. The public looks at the promised 6,000-strong specialized enforcement force and sees only the empty space where protection should be, and the damage spills straight into the economy, turning a security crisis into a financial catastrophe. By grounding the deportation flights, the government allows the daily bill for migrant hotels to continue hemorrhaging, £8 million every single morning. That is a direct transfer of wealth from working taxpayers to those who, critics argue, are breaking the law. In coastal towns, communities watch their local economies wither as hotels are requisitioned indefinitely, turning tourist hubs into holding centers. Farage's plan offered what he called a mathematical certainty: remove the people, remove the cost. This, critics insist, is not incompetence, it's a choice to bankrupt the nation rather than secure it. The electorate sees a government willing to damage the social contract, wreck the budget, and endanger women and children, all to avoid implementing a solution deemed politically incorrect. At its core, this conflict is no longer just about numbers, it's a battle over legal sovereignty. The central legal barrier to deporting 600,000 individuals remains the jurisdiction of the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg. Farage's roadmap explicitly includes a nuclear option: withdrawal from that court to clear the legal runway for RAF deportation flights. His argument is simple: as long as foreign judges retain veto power over Britain's borders, the nation is independent in name only. Starmer rejects this approach as a diplomatic catastrophe that would align Britain with pariah states. He insists the solution lies in processing claims faster within the existing international framework. However, critics point out that this framework has resulted in a near-zero deportation rate for channel crossers. This legal deadlock has spilled over into a crisis of free speech within the UK itself. Millions of voters support the deportation initiative, but are increasingly terrified to voice that support publicly. The silent majority has now become a measurable phenomenon in data analysis. Support for the deportation mandate is significantly higher in anonymous surveys than in public focus groups. This suggests a growing disconnect between the electorate's private views and the state's public narrative. The rejection of the operational plan signals a major shift in foreign policy alignment. Its cancellation leaves existing immigration teams under-resourced and mired in complex bureaucracy. Without these specialized squads, the logistical capacity to remove 288,000 people annually becomes mathematically impossible. The government maintains that such a force would be socially divisive. Stay informed with every update. Subscribe now and turn on notifications.